Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us for the voting video series. My name is Tonnelly of Beyond Thinking, and I'm getting to host these videos in collaboration with Samantha, the founder of the Conscious Altruism community. And again, we just want to acknowledge that this is a stressful time. Not only are things still going on with COVID, there's a lot happening in our personal lives, and the politics of today really just encourage a lot of tension and fear and anxiety. So I just want to acknowledge that because this is tough, and we want folks to feel informed about how they proceed with voting, as well as making sure they have a plan so that they can feel safe on the day of the election. I also want to say that I'm so excited that we are going to host 2 drop-in sessions, the first being on October 31st at 10 a.m. Pacific time. If you come in costume, even better. Not required, but encouraged. And it'll just be an opportunity to kind of talk, answer any questions, and really just sit together as fellow human beings who might also be experiencing some stress. The other one will be on election day, and that will be a lot of actually talking through like anxiety and stress management. And that one will be from 1 to 2 p.m. on election day. So we hope you're able to join us for that. So the past couple of weeks has been chock full of information. We've talked about voting history, the importance of voting, how you can register to vote. And today we want to talk about the various ways that you can vote. And again, like so much of the information we've shared in these videos, it really depends on the state that you live because the rules change. So I just want to talk about a few, and we're going to share links in the comments, including how to find your local election office so that you can find out what are the ways to vote and what are the rules around that way of voting. So let's talk about absentee and early voting. This has long been a practice. One, because life occurs and sometimes people are not in town, including our service folks and their families. Service members and their families for years have had to vote through absentee voting. So this is a proven process. This has happened for many decades. And so just what you need to know about that is you have to usually request a ballot from your local election office saying that you're absentee. And depending on the locality, you might actually have to say and prove why. The other thing that's really important to think about is voting by mail. Now, I know that can be a controversial topic depending on where you are, but in 2020, we all had the opportunity to vote by mail, right? And some states only vote by mail. Washington State has been doing that since 2012. All of their elections have been vote by mail with little to no issue at all. That said, it might vary in the state that you're in if you can vote by mail. And it's important there to find out, when do you have to have your ballot postmarked by? It's a very convenient way of getting to vote, right? Like the ballot comes to you, you fill in the ovals, you stuff it in the security envelope, you tuck it in the envelope, seal it up, sign it, date it, and just make sure that it's postmarked in time. And like so many things, that varies by state. So again, we will include that link in the comments for you. Something that probably everybody is more familiar with is voting in person. And this is something where like you find out the closest polling station to your location, and then you get in line. And we're going to include a link in the comments so you can see where are the closest polling sites to you where you would be able to cast your vote in person. Now, again, depending on the state that you live in, there might be some different parameters. You might need to show an ID. You might not. So it's really important to find that information out ahead of time. And so we'll share a link in the comments where you can access and find that information out. Some states have enacted laws where you're not allowed to bring people water or food or snacks. So you're going to want to make sure you have a plan. In-person voting can take a long time. You're in line. And, for folks who maybe are working an hourly job, that's not the most convenient. And so you want to make a plan to either get there early, get there late, depending on what time your polling location closes. and not all polling locations have the same hours. So you want to make sure you have a plan. You want to make sure you know where you're going. You want to make sure to know if you need to bring an ID or not. And I can't recommend enough that if you're having any anxiety or fear, can you go with somebody? Go with a buddy so that you don't have to be there alone. And make sure that you have your weather appropriate clothing. We don't want you to get stuck in the rain or get sunburnt on the opposite end of that. So just make sure you have what you need for the weather of your location, and make sure you're safe and informed and you don't have to worry about what's going to happen. So just a few of the different ways that you can vote. Another thing we want to talk about is how do you support other people in voting? And this is really, that could happen in so many different ways. You could be a poll worker, and we will include that link in the comments below, because the poll workers are really important. They're the persons that make sure that every person who's voting has a solid experience, that it's easy, that it's smooth, even if you're waiting a long time. They're also making sure that your vote is protected. So election workers play a really vital role. And if you're able to volunteer that day, great. If not, no worries, something to keep in mind. The other thing is, if you can provide people with information that is unbiased, or that is not here's how you need to vote, let people make informed choices for themselves. And we're going to talk about that in another series coming up soon. You could drive people to their location. Sometimes not everybody has a vehicle or access to a bus line or a public transit. Sometimes it's not super accessible to, get on a highway or get in a car or all these different things. And so if you have somebody who might have some accessibility issues getting to the polling place, talk to them and see what they need. Don't offer, ask. I highly recommend asking folks if they might need any assistance in either voting or getting to their polling place. Offer to drop people's ballots off. When I lived in Washington State, I had a neighbor who would collect everybody's ballot on our floor and drop them off. They were trusted. And in some states, that's not an option, right? So it's really important to find out, what are the clear ways that you can vote in your state, and figure out what's the best one for you. I know that's a lot of information, but hopefully if there was anything confusing, you're welcome to rewatch it, or you're welcome to message Sam or myself or attend a drop-in. And if you want to get involved, there's local election organizations and voting rights organizations in every area. So just hop on our handy friend Google, and you can find your local voting rights organization that you can support as well. Again, there will be a ton of resources in the comments. We thank you for watching. And I just feel grateful for folks who are interested in what's on the ballot, who's on the ballot, how they can stay informed. And hopefully this is providing a little bit of extra support.